China.
Okay, we're coming out of recess to
China. In the evening.
continue with our
Why
budget
do
hearing,
glasses
November
for this
14th,
one?
2019. We have Paul Hugus, Building Engineering, Community Development, and Public Works. Paul, welcome.
Thank you. So I give you two documents. The first document is a organizational structure that may help you with
Ooh, love this.
budget numbers and people and pages that we'll be talking about them. So effectively, June 1st is when the consolidation of departments occurred. What you see in front of you is how the department is structured. We're a group of 70 now, based on the two buildings, the municipal building and the public works facility. So what you have in front of you is each individual department with the department numbers and the page numbers within the budget book, so you can easily reference them as we go through this. The second page is I made it large enough so, Ron, you don't have to get your reading glasses. So on the second page is a spreadsheet. It lists the department numbers, the descriptions. The FTP is a full-time people, and PTP is a part-times. The expenditures, the page numbers, and then the revenue section on the other side of that. So you'll have to give me some leniency on this, because when we started putting the budget together for this year was in August, September. So my evaluation of the budgets really wasn't real fair because I took over in June. So I put some numbers in, then I printed the year-to-date in November to see that there were certain line items that were just totally out of money. Josie's tired of seeing me. She calls me Mayhem from that commercial, because every time I come in, I'm like, I'm out of money. I need more money. And Tim goes, where are you gonna get the money from? I'm like,
Josie.
I don't know where I'm getting the money from,
He
but
thinks I have a tree.
Yeah.
I told her she has a money tree, so we've run out of money in many different line items.
Oh, we had those
and
55-gallon drums
Yeah.
hidden downstairs.
She has a money tree there. So what you're gonna see here in the spreadsheet, which is highlighted, are numbers that are different than what's in the budget. These are different numbers that are in the budget, and, you know, we can go through that. So the first department is 2,300, which is the fire building and code enforcement directors, which is myself and the secretary. One of the common themes you'll see in here, which I talked to Josie about already, is the OPEB seems to be missing on some of these, and the gasoline, oil, and lubricants seems to be missing on some of these. So they have to be polluted, and you'll see in that column, the first highlighted column where it says finance, those are numbers that Josie has to put in there, okay? So in the 2,300, OPEB needs to be put in. The contract service fees, which is 2,730. The reason that had increased so much is because we have to pay our fair share of the Tyler Technologies. And that's why that dollar value has been increased that much.
Oh, what page are you on?
I'm on page 45.
45.
All right, I'm on 53.
Well, you don't
You-
need to be there.
If you go back to your page.
Okay, I'm
if
here
you go
now.
back and it says expenditures, page 45 on your spreadsheet. At the very
Where?
top, it's highlighted.
Look,
Make a comment on the OPEB.
Oh, right there. Gotcha.
There, the OPEB is actually your retiree health
Right.
insurance, so you do have a number in there.
Okay.
So we don't put a number in the OPEB, that's an auditor line.
Okay. The contract service fees against for the Tyler Technologies, we had to add that from last year. 2904, which is the DCED PA UCC fees, that is a new line item. That's because for every building permit that we issue, we have to pay the Department of Labor and Industry $4.50 for every permit we issued. That's a new line item that we did not have in last year. And again, gasoline and lubricants, and then the last one, which is the demo condemned properties. So there's $60,000 in the budget for 2019 for our current year. So we put money in there, but we also applied for money through the DCD for a grant, which we received. So we have 10 structures on the list to be demolished this year. We put money in there because we didn't know if we were going to get the grant, so we wanted to be safe about it. So we probably aren't going to use that this year. But again, in 2020, I'd like to put money in there again, because if we come across some of these structures that need to be demolished, we need to have some money to do that with. So that's why the $30,000. You look at about $10,000 per structure now for
So we
demolition.
received a grant for how many structures?
I'm sorry,
How many structures?
10,
10.
yes.
Great.
And then we also continually go through the TRICOG with the land bank. We've been pretty successful with that, of getting those houses taken over by the land bank and flipped. We've had some houses donated to the TRICOG to get flipped, so those programs have actually been pretty successful. So that's it for 2,300, unless you have any questions.
No, sir.
Okay, the next is 2350, which is on the next page on 47. Again, the OPEB and the gasoline and lubricants is the only thing of interest there. Questions?
It's all operational
No.
costs. There's nothing in there that's,
No.
gonna jump out and bite you in the nose.
Nope.
Nothing?
Nope.
Okay,
Next.
No.
next would be
53.
on page 49, I'm sorry, not 49.
53?
53.
53.
53. This has a little bit more sheets. 53. Probably the one that's gonna jump out at you there is, you don't see it, because again, it was a late entry on my part, is seminar expenses. What I gave you on your spreadsheet is $10,000. What is in the budget is $1,000. And the reason that is for additional training for the Public Works Department. We just recently have gone through some training for Public Works. We went through a commercial driver's license training where I brought a third-party agency in. We have 55 commercial driver's licensed employees. We broke it up into a 3-day period. Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the training center. It was a great event. Thought it was very useful for all the employees as well as management. It was put on for us. He was a retired lieutenant from the state police, the head of their DOT division. And last week, the storm sewer crew went to a trench safety course down in Neville Island. And I want to continue with these types of training courses for Public Works. It's actually in their contract that the municipality is supposed to provide training for the Public Works Department. And I want to continue on that path with that department of adding additional training across the board, from safety to operational training,
Were we doing that in the
Sounds good.
past?
not to my knowledge.
Okay. It's money well spent.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Thank you.
is.
On to
Next, Mr.
55.
Hugus.
That was the only changes within 3,200.
Okay.
If you don't have any questions, then we're going to go to page 55, which is the snow and ice control. Again, there's, I don't see there being any changes
No.
to that department. You know, basically, we take, we have 14 snow routes within the municipality. We actually got to engage into that this week for the first time for the season. It went off pretty uneventful, but there's no changes within that budget.
Hopefully it's enough for this year.
I agree. Mother Nature's anyone that knows.
Yeah. Street lighting. Is that us?
All right, the next one is street lighting, which is page 57. Again, no changes with that. That's the payment for our street lighting throughout the municipality.
We put ones out into Pondview.
Has that changed with the conversion to LED lights in some of the areas?
It's a good
Is
question.
Duquesne Light
Oh, these-
charging us anything differently whenever they convert to LED?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we've been converting 110 lights per year for the last 3 years. So, you know, we're pushing, you know, over 300 lights now that have been converted.
Because Duquesne Light charges us a per light fee.
That's
That's how they factor.
Right, I don't
It hasn't-
have the
it hasn't
answer.
changed
I
since
could
it's
get
gone to-
back to you on
We should
that.
probably
Yeah.
look into that because the energy is definitely, we're not
Right.
If we
using as much.
request
so.
new lighting like I did on Pondview, do they automatically put in LED?
They do put in LED, yes.
And we'll do another 110 again this coming year,
Yeah,
correct?
that's the plan.
Okay,
We do as many as we possibly can, because
Right.
if other communities don't engage into that program, they will offer to us because they know we'll take it.
right,
So if somebody
We're
else
happy to
doesn't
have
feel like
it.
doing it, they will offer to us and we'll do it.
okay. Yeah, I want to continue with that for sure.
I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know that was, I thought it was out of. Parks and
Next, Mr.
Community
Hughes.
Oh.
Okay, the next is the street maintenance department, which is on page 59.
That doesn't-
Really, there's no changes to that either, except for the OPEB. Josie, I know we mentioned that. Really not much of a change there.
Down to park maintenance.
Okay,
Okay, parks maintenance is 3260.
20 and 5.
Again, what you're gonna see on that spreadsheet I gave you is different from what you see in your book, because you have the OPEB and the gasoline, which is, Josie and I'll figure that out. But the two items that I increased was recreational equipment repair and the paint and painting supplies. You can see I put a much larger dollar value.
Yeah.
We simply have ran out of money, and there are things that need to be done within the Parks Department, and we need money to do that.
The equipment, like the.
Absolutely.
The swings and
The playground equipment,
Yes.
the timbers, the safety surface, the pavilions need painted. Yes,
There's a lot.
There's a laundry list of things that need to be
Yes.
done. And to be
Okay.
quite honest with you, you know, this is an estimate. It's probably gonna take a couple of years to really, balance that out, if you
Right.
will.
But it's a good start.
Yes.
Thank you.
You know, actually, there's a few pavilions we need to put new roofs on next year.
Already? Well, already. I'm
Not
thinking-
already. It's
I'm
been-
thinking community park, no, doesn't
Yeah.
matter, yeah, it's not already.
the other
Yeah, it's
park.
relative to in
Yeah,
my experience, but not.
that would have to probably go in capital.
Oh, under parks and maintenance, you have $20,000 there for recreation equipment and repair.
Yes.
Under 3260, I don't see that line item in my budget. Is it just
He's
32?
adding it.
It's all 3260.
No, I'm sorry,
What is the line number?
3260.
I gotcha. Well, I did not put it down.
It's 2606 recreation equipment.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's 2606.
2606.
That's my fault.
$1,000.
Okay.
2606.
So it should be 20,000 there.
Correct, instead of 1,000. I don't know what you do with $1,000 when it comes to
Not much.
repairs.
So that should be 20.
And these repairs, are they done, they're not done by the parks crew, they're done by the building maintenance people?
Building, and we're gonna get into that as we go through
All right.
here, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Very good. Next, signs and markings.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Hughes.
What you're gonna see here, if you look at the 2020 versus the 2019, we changed some of the things in here because the traffic signals, since 2002, the traffic signal was part of the signs and markings budget. Prior to 2002, traffic signals were separate. We separated them again. So the traffic signals repair is in one separate budget, and the signs and markings is in a different. And it's just for some good accounting practices, to be quite honest with you. Okay?
Well, this is where you maybe want to give the explanation that you told me when I brought this up at the last time about possible new opticoms because of the difficulty in repairing them. You,
And we'll get to
Given
that, we'll get to that under the traffic signals part of it.
Okay,
This is just signs and markings.
I didn't know signals were different.
That's what he was saying, is this time he's broken the back out again.
Okay,
So on your spreadsheet, what you'll see is that there's $4,000 in there for seminar expenses. And what that is for is that we essentially have all new people in the signs division. And we need to upgrade our software that we make our signs with. And we need to bring somebody in to train people because we have all new people. So that's why the dollar value has been increased.
That includes the software upgrade,
Yes.
okay?
65.
Refuse collection and disposal.
Love these guys.
Refuse collection, again, the only two items there. Josie, there's nothing in there for drug testing.
Well, sometimes the drug testing, well, I see what you're saying, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I see, okay.
All right, and then again, the
Got it.
gassing and lubricants, which I know, obviously for the refuse division, that dollar amount is a lot, and it's not in there.
What is it? Drug testing and
Yes.
lubricants, okay.
So we collect about 10,000 tons of refuse per month.
A month.
Wait, how much?
Yep.
10,000 tons.
Yep. I'm sorry, 1,000 tons, I'm sorry.
1,000
I'm off
tons a
zero.
month.
And 10,000 hubs.
I'm off a zero. Yeah, it was. It's 1,000 tons, no, 1,000 tons per week,
1,000 tons.
4,000 a month.
4,000, right.
Okay.
It's late.
Wow.
It's 10,000 single-family homes,
Yeah,
There was a 10,000 there somewhere.
yes.
I didn't think we had.
All right, any questions with refuse?
Nope.
It's a load of garbage.
All right. We're gonna get into some areas here where we're gonna have some expenses changes. The vehicle equipment, maintenance and repair. I mean, we touched on this a little bit, obviously, effectively at Memorial Day is when the new mechanics started. And things changed dramatically from an expense standpoint because you had 3 new mechanics. Not all of them were new, but they were new to the division. So you got 3 heavy equipment mechanics and 2 mechanics. So your expenses went up dramatically. So we were spending about $11,000 a month on motor vehicle parts, up to $15,000 a month once the new guys started, just because we were getting a lot more vehicles through and replacing a lot of parts, and it's proportional to them. So that's why there was a large increase in that. The other thing that we did with, we got new fleet maintenance software for the mechanics this year, because the old system was no longer supported and actually stopped working, so we had to get new fleet maintenance software. One of the things we're still out looking at is diagnostic software. The problem is that we have so many different types of vehicles, you know, different types of engines. You have Max, you have Caterpillars, you have Cummins, you have Detroits. So trying to find something that's either one that could do all mall, or we have to get an individual module for each one of those, is something that we're still looking at for the vehicle maintenance.
when are you gonna be able to tell, like, the amount that we used to send out versus now the amount that we're doing in-house?
I don't know, I could readily give you that statistic. I could tell you that pretty much we try to, even with the fire departments now, you know, we try to do as much as we can in-house. Anything that I mean, obviously do all the state inspections, we do the maintenance work, we don't do the warranty work. We can't do the emissions testing, though. We don't do that, we don't have the equipment to do that.
Okay,
But just talking, you know, your fire chiefs just told you how many vehicles they have in their
Right.
fleet. So there's about 75 public works vehicles, there's 35, and we call them miscellaneous vehicles, which are excavators, backhoes, rollers, high lift skid steers, the parks tractors, trailers. There's about 40 police vehicles, so we're at about 190 vehicles that we maintain.
Is that counting the fire department?
That is counting the fire department, yes.
Paul, do you think, is there anything in particular you send out constantly?
When it gets into specialty things with suspensions, we'll send it to Point Springs, just because they're a little bit more outfitted than we are
What
for it.
about, do you think it would be worth our ability to have something that do front-end alignments?
The problem we have now, Ron, is just
Space.
physical space. You know, those guys are really, you know, you're sitting on top of each
Yeah,
other,
where you
trying to
gonna
get
put it?
things done. You know, our wash bay is sort of integrated with the overflow mechanics bay, especially this time of year, because we're trying to wash trucks in the wintertime, and they're trying to work on trucks, and it's, you know, that's a discussion we're gonna have for capital,
Yeah.
is just the physical space of those guys. They do a great job, though. So, back to,
Well, no, to answer Linda's question, you could probably do a vendor report on those companies that you do have shipped it out, and as the year, next year and 2 years, as the
You
years
can
go
compare
on,
the difference.
those vendors won't be used. You could do a vendor report on the units. That's the way
Right.
you would do that.
Yeah.
You would have to give it a little bit of time.
Right.
Yeah, because they're not gonna show
Yeah,
us.
because, I mean,
right.
we've talked about, we've got to be saving money, not sending out and doing in-house.
We're about, what, 6 months into this now?
they started Memorial Day, basically, is
Oh,
well,
well,
end of June.
we could like
Even if we do
get
just,
something.
yeah, even if it's year end, I mean, it's just,
But I can
Right.
tell you, even disregard the savings.
the
vehicle-
turnaround is
Turnaround
amazing.
time is incredible.
Yeah,
Well, one of the things about keeping it in-house with any of these functionalities is the span of control.
yeah,
I can control that. You send it out, it's gonna sit on a lot for about a week or two.
right.
Until they decide to get it into work on it, then it's gonna take a little bit longer. You know, so we could get something turned around within a few days. The biggest hang-up with us is actually getting the physical parts. So when GM went on strike, it caused a problem.
Oh,
When Mack went on strike, it caused a problem. It's about getting the parts to us,
yeah,
because you don't always know what you need until you get into it and you tear it apart.
And you don't have a huge
and we're not
part inventory.
stocking, yeah, we're
Yeah,
not like
we
advanced
keep a
stock.
lot of stock of common items for the common vehicles that we
Yeah.
have.
Okay,
So looking at the vehicle maintenance, again, in your spreadsheet it's more in your spreadsheet than it is in your budget book, is the overtime and the equipment repair and maintenance. So when you look at this,
We
the
passed
you gotta,
We haven't got
look at this, automobile repair and maintenance is just what it sounds like, it's automobile, okay? Equipment repair and maintenance is the miscellaneous equipment that I was just talking about.
okay,
The backhoes, high lifts, skid steers, rollers, those types, that's how we sort of segregate those two apart from each other.
okay.
How's, or why is overtime going up if we have more employees?
There's been a lot of demand recently. Right now, we're sort of handicapped because we have 4 refuse trucks. We have 3 refuse routes. At one time, you could always have a refuse truck that is down. Matter of fact, the other day, we were down 2, so we only had 2 refuse trucks. So the priority every day is a refuse. So if those guys come back from their route and there's something that needs repaired, it gets put in the garage right away to work on it. Sometimes it takes longer beyond a 3 o'clock period when they're done for the day to make sure that's done. So we're trying to really impress upon getting the equipment done and back into the fleet as soon as possible.
Paul, do you find that happening less and less now that the drivers are doing pre-trip checks and post-trip checks?
We are, but we still got aging equipment. And there's nothing that you're gonna do to fix that. But absolutely, I mean, we've gone through and we really emphasized, and again, from the time the mechanics took over, is doing preventive maintenance on all the big dump trucks. We got through just about all of them just before the salt season started. And it was a lot of money, took a lot of time to do that. It's
I
been a
mean,
long
catching
time.
a small problem before it turns into a big
Right, but the
problem.
pre-trip checks will help with that, especially with the refuse trucks. You know, even the standards we put in with them of coming back at the end of the day, they have to wash their trucks, grease the hoppers, you know, clean the trucks. The maintenance level has gone down. But, you know, the other day, we had a main hydraulic line in the Packer that broke on a route. You just never know that's gonna happen. Now, we do have a new refuse truck coming in probably December. It's in Wisconsin right now, getting a body put on it. So we'll be back to 5. So hopefully, when we have 2 extra, then we can start rotating them through the fleet and try to eliminate those problems. But right now, they run 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, regardless of anything.
And everybody loves them.
Yes.
It's a good service
Yes, okay,
Monroeville provides.
we're good.
Very good. Next, recycling there, Mr. Hughes.
Recycling, again, just the gasoline lubricant shows
Yep.
we'll have to figure out. There was nothing special there.
Okay.
Animal control.
Animal control, again, just gasoline and lubricants.
Okay.
You don't have any questions there?
Nope.
Okay, now, this is another big one, is the building and property maintenance. Again, in your spreadsheet are dollar values that are different than what's in your budget book. I gotta look at my cheat sheet for this. So when we talk about building maintenance, we're talking about the municipal center, obviously one we're in, public works facility. The training center has 4 structures, the old stone church, the library, senior center. 2 historical structures on McGinley Road, and what Mayor Griesach referred to earlier. You know, we have 11 restrooms within the parks, we have 16 playground facilities in the parks, and the building maintenance is a responsible party for that. Now, if you go back to the spread, or go back to this flow chart that I gave you, and if you look on the far right side, under building maintenance, and you're gonna count them up as, you got a foreman who splits his time between the community park and the building maintenance. You have a journeyman, you have 2 general maintenance, and 2 custodians that takes care of all those building maintenance. The demand is more than what we can provide. There's not enough money to cover the cost. There's not enough people to do the work.
Your suggestion?
I think we need to add additional people.
How many?
I think at a minimum, you have to add another journeyman because they're skilled labor. They know plumbing, electrical, and they know all the ins and outs of building maintenance. You know, I'm still not convinced that having a foreman split his time between a community park and building maintenance is a way to go.
Well, he does a phenomenal job right now.
Oh, he does.
Both in the
I mean, he does. But,
But he might just need more help, is what
But-
it sounds like.
you know, again, he's bouncing around. You know, those foremen are supposed to be out, you know, making sure all the people are getting their work done and assigning job responsibilities. And that person is not even at the public works facility. He's at the community park. The building maintenance people are at the public works facility. There's somewhat of a disconnect there. You know, this year we had, you know, for the major part of this year, we had 4 people on disability for one reason or another. You know, so you take 4 people out of your workforce. So, you know, coming in every day, it's not about knowing what work needs done, it's about where to plug and play people. Because certain jobs you have to have, the recycling truck has to have 2 people. If the custodian calls off here, you gotta put a person in here. If a custodian calls off at the senior center, you gotta put a person there. Then you're taking away from the rest of your workforce, eliminating people from there.
So even if nobody calls off, you still could use somebody else?
In the building maintenance, yes.
Yeah, just,
Yes.
Even
If
if
everybody was, if ever, and it's, there's not a day that people aren't calling off.
right,
I mean, you have 70 people in a department.
right.
I mean, it's just, everybody
It
has
happens.
vacation and personal sick days and so forth. There's not a day that somebody isn't calling off. If everybody was there, you might be able to get the workload done, but that's not the case. In your building maintenance, you just, you emphasized last year, and I applaud you for the vehicle maintenance. You've seen it with your vehicle maintenance. It's the same thing with your building maintenance. I mean, you could walk through here, you could look at this building its own. It's 19 years old. The Public Works facility is 41 years old.
Wow. Now, the roof we were looking at, Mr. Little, is that in this year's budget?
No, that's coming out of capital. Actually, it's coming out of the
Fund
the
balance.
fund balance.
For
Where it's going from?
next year?
No, this year.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me qualify that. It depends on when they start. And as I said the other night, my suspicion would be that they may not start until the spring. I
Right.
don't know that, though, but they have under the contract to finish the job by May 1st,
Okay.
so.
Well, Mr. Little, with Mr. Hugus, could maybe you get a figure on what another staff member would cost for the building maintenance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know that having
For either
an
float-
additional person that could be a floater.
Yeah,
in the
that's what I
department,
mean. They
to
could-
go wherever.
Well, I guess
that
it's just another
person
Public
needs
Works
to go.
employee.
That's
truthfully.
exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, but if you want them to be a journeyman, you can't.
Well, that's separate. I'm talking separate.
Oh, okay.
Journeyman and maybe a floater to just put that wherever that person needs to go for the day.
You're talking about two people, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is the journeyman positions paid at a different rate than,
Yes,
Yes.
because they're skilled
That's
labor.
a skilled laborer.
see if you could just get counsel those figures?
yeah, with benefits and everything, you're talking over 200 grand with benefits. Pension, all that's easily 220, something like that.
My boss tells me, if you're gonna run a railroad, you're gonna run a railroad.
Well,
a big railroad, that's for
I
sure.
know where you're coming from, because Monroeville's residents like and have come accustomed to the good service that they get. Garbage, police, fire, EMS, clerical, parks and recreation. And the day has come where they're gonna have to pay for it, or tell us what to get rid of, so.
This building alone needs, we know it needs a roof. Does it need windows? It needs, I mean, how long's it been since,
Well, these are operational questions, that too, so it's just taking care of the building.
Yeah.
Taking care of the
On
building
top
is
of
where
the
you're-
fact
yeah,
that
too.
you still need all this other major work done to these buildings.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Like it says, and this is the newest of all our buildings.
right.
Like it's like, the Public Works building is 41 years old. Go walk through there sometime. The training center is 15 years old. You got 3 structures over there that they all need work done to them.
Yeah,
And then we pulled you into the library because they own the library building too.
Right.
Although they do the maintenance inside for janitorial services.
Oh, no, the
Contract.
building maintenance, they do any type of work at the library.
Right, and they do, but the
Absolutely.
building maintenance for that too. I mean, the janitorial service is something that they
Sub that.
sub
yes.
that out
Yeah.
from the library funding too, but the building maintenance, and that's 1965, I think, 64, 65.
So some food for thought.
Understood.
Okay.
Next item, Mr. Hugus.
well, it needs to be done.
Community park?
All this stuff needs to
Okay, the community park,
be done. Have someone to look at it.
that's on page 75. Again, on your spreadsheet that I gave you, I increased some of those line items, the front, the gasoline lubricants, Joe. Building equipment repair and maintenance, I increased that value. And
Yeah.
I put in some money for new office furniture for them also.
No questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Next item.
All right, so we're going to jump to page 85 now. I've had a tough day jumping. Did a lot of jumping. Community development, again, there's nothing that jumps out at me there other than adding the line item for gasoline and oil. Okay. Next is Planning Commission. And again, that's a small budget, nothing different there. After that is Zoning Hearing Board. Again, there's nothing new there. Next is page 91, which is the Engineering Department. And this is, I guess, more of a question for Josie, is that, so last year, or I should say, in 2019, we have $200,000 in a budget, and that was for, we got a grant to do the traffic signal West Patty Lane, Northern Pike,
Oh, that's right.
okay? So it's a grant, but we have to pay for it up front, and we get reimbursed. So we have to put the money in to cover that cost. Now, in 2020, we got a grant to replace a signal at Wingate and Minerva Boulevard. So do we add money in here, or do you want to put it in the capital?
No, you could put it in here because basically what's gonna happen, and we've talked about this, your grant expenditures are gonna be offset by
Right,
the revenue,
correct.
as long as it's a
Okay.
dollar for
So
dollar.
there, in your spreadsheet, I put 300,000, because that's what the grant is
Okay.
for Wingate and Minerva.
I think it would be obvious that the expenditure on the expenditure side is getting offset by a grant.
That's, yeah.
I mean, somebody that looks at it's gonna say $300,000 is going out for
Or-
whatever. Is it gonna be easy to tell that we're also getting that $300,000?
Well, maybe not looking at the budget, but if you're looking at our financial statements, you wouldn't
you
even
leave- what if
see
you
it
leave it
because
like
It
this?
shows
they're
the
gonna
revenue.
offset.
Josie, what if you leave it worded like this is, where it says grant expenditures? You know that that's grant money coming in, so you would know that there would be another line item on the other side, like a pass-through, like we talked about with the fire department.
Right. And, in some cases, and I really should run this by the auditor, but, it is, what some municipalities have done is put that in, take it out of your budget and leave it like in a balance sheet type account. And then you monitor that and because you're expecting money, so you're gonna spend the money, the 300,000, you may not get anything this year, but then in the following year, you'll get that 300,000 or however long
Right.
it takes for that grant.
It wouldn't show up in your income and expenses.
Right,
It would just show up on the balance sheet as you'd have accounts receivable as a grant.
right.
And you'd have a liability also as the expenditure's going out. And that's one way of doing it. And we've talked about this in-house here. I've done it in other places where I set up a grant fund, which is on the income and expense side, and it's a separate fund in each department, if you're getting a grant.
I was gonna say, you'd have to do that with Park and Rec. and-
Right, exactly, and it carries over, so if you want to see any kind of a grant, you go to the grant fund where grants have, now, grants carry over from year to year. A lot of them last 3 years,
Yeah.
if you have a decent-sized project, so,
Well, could you do that as a whole separate section then?
If you had a tab.
That we could look at, yeah.
Funding.
Yes,
we can, I mean, it's
Do it like that.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
right.
No, but it would be nice to,
But if you went
to
in
turn
there,
a
you
tab
could
that
see
says
the
grants.
Wingate
Right.
Light project is being paid for by.
Yeah,
We could do that.
Exactly.
yeah, that would be
That's- we
nice
had-
to be able to see
And
that.
easily understandable.
Yes,
What happens you legally, under the GFO, even legally, you can put grant money into the general fund, as we've been doing, and you keep track of it according to the line item, but you can have also more of a tendency to spend that money, and you're not spending it on the grant, because if you have and I've gone through this personally, if you have a switchover in administration, a decent size switchover in administration, and the previous person has been spending the money, and because of political reasons, the money for the grant is not being spent, then all of a sudden, a year or two goes by, and the grant isn't done, but you've spent the grant money.
Well,
And that has happened in more than
I'm
one
saying
place.
if you had a grant tab here and it said $300,000, it's, you give the year that it's expected to be expended. You say
The department.
Wingate Light Project, and you do that with all the grant money, it's easier for anybody, including the layperson, to track, to make sure that that expenditure
Right.
is being used for grants. or for
And it's
whatever-
easy for us to look under just grants and see what grants are out there, what, what we've received,
That
what
was the
it's spent
question I was
on.
going to ask. How many grants do we have?
Yeah, see, I don't know,
Right now, we probably have, most of them, a lot of them are Park and Rec
Right.
right now. A lot of them are Park and Rec we have.
but it'd be nice to go like this, and
I usually get one a year, it's typically, and they're typically traffic
Even if
control
there's 2 or
related.
3 on there, was the elevator in the library a grant?
Yeah.
not
Well,
for
that
us.
was, not to us, that was separate from the Keystone State Grant that the library got. We did not have any.
We didn't manage
We
that.
didn't put any money.
No, but
into
we've
that.
got money for Park and Rec, I know for sure, for equipment and,
Trail project.
Well, no, we just got the $75,000. grant
Right,
for
Paul just talked
evergreen.
about it.
That one right there. Paul was talking about that one. We also have grants pending to pave the trail up in Community
I was
Park.
gonna say, didn't we get some road improvement grants too?
No,
The sewer system over in Garden City,
but the lining?
wasn't the stormwater,
oh, yes, it was a CITF
I
grant.
said lining, I didn't say
Was-
no,
it was a
I said
storm sewer
lining.
line.
Oh, what was that for?
That's what we lined the storm sewer.
was that?
Lining.
Oh, that's what,
Look at
that was for the
that.
storm sewer.
Yeah, that was a
Oh,
CITF.
No, that
The
was for-
lining.
not road paving. It was
But anyhow,
for
can we look at doing that then, so we can have a tab that says grants, so we can actually look and see what grants are
Yeah,
actually?
we can do that, yeah.
Okay, great.
Do you feel that's cleaner? Both of you?
I think, like I said, it's six one, half dozen of the
It's
other. It's
more
like,
open. You
Well,
don't
we,
have to
we
look
like
through
the
whole
6
budget.
instead of the half dozen.
I think it's easier that way, Josie, maybe than a balance sheet. I mean, I get the balance sheet, I understand that.
Right, but
totally.
then you're gonna miss the revenue expense.
Right.
What I would think we should do to make it clean is put it in the back with special funds. I
Yeah,
agree with,
Yeah, unquestionably.
Yeah.
because it's not really a part of your general fund.
Right.
It's not,
It's a
it-
pass-through. It's
Oh,
a,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, now, and it's different. Being a person that manages a grant, okay, a 5-year one, which then has rollovers that, all those different parameters, and they're different than the other one and so on and so forth.
Right.
So then maybe that'll help qualify that as well. I didn't know if we were in that same level
Haven't we
position.
recently received some grants from the state representatives or something? I thought the police department got a grant. Anyway,
well, I
Neither
like
here
it,
nor
I
there.
like it where you say back in special funds,
Let's look at doing that.
yeah.
And
Mr.
then,
Hugus,
yeah.
next item.
That's it for engineering. You guys have any questions? If not, then we go to the next page with traffic signals. So 6110, like I said before, 6110 is a budget code that we used to have. We took it off, we put it back in. That's why everything's zeroed out except for this coming budget year is there. So Ron, to answer your question, if you scroll down to 2609, there's money in there
For the repair.
for repairs of traffic signals.
what I was trying to tell council is that I had brought up about possibly replacing the Opticom system because of its aging and having difficulty getting parts. When in fact, Mr. Hugus kind of squared me away on that after the meeting, in that when Opticom first came out, it was made by 3M.
Yes, it was a 3M product.
And then 3M sold it, and there was a difficult short period there of getting parts because 3M sold it to,
Well, we use a Tomar product now.
yeah. So they're not having any problems with it, getting replacement parts and stuff now, so I don't believe we're gonna need any replacement.
Right, well, I think that what you're looking, the new technology is to do it activated by radio. radio wave. The technology we use is by light emitting, so it's a line of sight.
But we don't need to do the big upgrade like Mr. Harvey had suggested, not right away,
You're not dragging me into those waters.
not right away. Well, I just want Mr. Little to get back up off the floor, because when Ron brought it up, I'm thinking he almost had a stroke.
Well, there's also like, also neighboring
There's the-
communities.
Set
Set the
Speechless.
policy,
You're
and I
speechless.
say, well, I'm not
Okay.
going to say it, not in public.
Neighboring
Okay.
communities that are coming in with their ambulances, they're not having any problems getting to hospitals and using the Opticom.
I don't necessarily know that they even use it.
Well, yeah, that was actually a question I was gonna go with.
I
A
can tell
number,
you-
a number of people are in the area on the optical-based flashing light have in fact, because of coming to these
I
hospitals,
can tell you
have in fact
Murrayville and
installed.
Plum both use Opticom.
That's,
I know when we originally set it up in the early 90s, it was just for Monroeville only.
right.
Right.
It seems to have been expanded.
Well, and then the standard changed where everything, it got more standardized for that
Right.
piece of it. So the question is then, with the new piece that we're talking about in terms of the radio wave of that, not that, it's not our responsibility for anyone else that's coming in, of course, it certainly is set for us. What about those that have the optical piece of it? We need to let some of those other folks out as a courtesy,
Yes,
let
with
them
more
know,
people.
hey, that doesn't work anymore, or is there?
Well, the radio transmitting, when we talked about it, Ron, I thought it was about $1 million to do that.
Do you have to change in the vehicles as well?
Yes.
Is there something, so there's a two-part here.
Yeah.
But the,
On
more,
each-
the point of the story, though, is that what we currently have is
It's
functioning
working, and we're
properly,
good for now,
And we have parts that we can get to fix these things, and everything's functioning properly, and
correct?
if
And
that
that was
changes,
good-
then we need to address it.
That's good
But Right
news,
now,
though.
things are working just fine.
Yes, good news.
All right,
it every
and then
time.
you go to your third page. And you will have to refer to your special fund section, your special fund tab.
Special funds all the way in the back.
Special fund, page 7, which has to do with the pollution control flood reduction.
Oops, sorry.
Probably the only thing of note there, when I talked to Tim about it already, is that the fees are not 3,600,000, it's 2 million, or 3,200,000.
Oh,
So it should, the actual revenue is actually the same as it would be last year, which is 3,233,000.
All right.
now the secondary letters have gone out, right?
Yes,
Just-
ma'am.
Just this question, okay.
Yes. So what you'll see within this, well, if you look at page 7, you'll see a lot of additional line items that were included that were not in last year's. They were things that were maybe oversights on our part originally, but, you know, to sort of parallel the other budgets, we added these line items in there to make sure everything is accounted for.
Good.
I mean, so that budget is what it is. You gotta live within that dollar amount.
Yeah.
How many employees?
Right now, we are at, if you look on the page here, Doc, 7. We're at 7, and we have 1 to 2 more slated this year, in 2020, or I should say next year, 2020.
You have 9 budgeted.
I'm sorry.
You already have 9 budgeted for.
Yes,
You don't have, you're not adding more.
no,
Okay.
Are all the vehicles in yet?
no. No, it's,
Are they all accounted for in the
We're not doing
19
this at
budget?
one time.
no, so we had spanned it over a 3-year period for the vehicles. The 2 dump trucks are not here. They should be here. The first one should be coming next week, which is causing a little bit of a discomfort because we had to take all the ones back and put salt spreaders on them. So we only have like really one that we could really use at this point, a big one, big dump truck. We have a small dump truck. But in 2020, we'll be buying a Sorjet, which are,
Sewer jet.
yeah, $400,000. You know, it's a big dollar item. But that was already slated to be in the second year of the program.
That was the one we were talking about with the winch on the front so they can lift the grate.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, correct.
We have a refuse truck coming in, too.
The refuse truck should be here in December. And then I go to Wisconsin to get the body on it.
But the two trucks that you're talking about that are due in, are they budgeted for?
Yes, they were already allocated in 2019. Yes.
I have no other questions.
And the thing you gotta remember, this program, obviously, we kicked it off at the beginning of the year. We really didn't get rolling until July part of the year. But, even since that point, it has made a lot of progress.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Hugus this evening?
None.
Paul, nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, Paul. A lot to take care of.
Yeah.
Council, we're going to move over to Human Resources. Joe Sedlak.
I can't be expected to follow Paul and Doug. I mean, that's,
Spreadsheets or,
I'm just here to basically, Mark Forster stole my thunder on Tuesday, by giving you all the insurance numbers. So I'm just here if you have any questions about that. And I just want to let you know, we're going to adjust the numbers as the final premiums come in from Mark. So they'll be adjusted down most likely, once he gets those numbers. Just wants to let you know on the workers' comp end, we've had kind of a bad year this year. We've had 43 claims, which is up from 25 in 2018. And 8 claims resulted in lost time, and 4 resulted in substantial surgeries. And we're talking guys that will be off probably 6 months from their injuries. And these are both workers' comp, they're all workers' comp injuries, in fact.
Are these figures taken the new report that the insurance?
Yeah, yeah. So, property and liability, and we've been doing really well for the last 3 years, and that's why those numbers have come down, because it goes on a 3-year cycle. And some of our bigger claims have come off the books, and so we're doing well on that end. But comp, we're gonna get hit the next year or so because of these claims, and because comp goes by payroll.
Right.
And as you can see from Paul and Doug with the officers and the public works and MS4 people, our payroll's gonna go way up here. So that means our comp's gonna go up as well,
And that'll be next year, we'll get hit with that.
yeah.
Yep.
Plus, we get audited every year.
Yeah.
So we give them numbers, and then the comp company comes in and looks at our W-2s. And if it's over what we put in, then we get billed accordingly for that. So this year was $20,000 that we had to pay extra just because we added payroll. That's all it is. So that's all I'm here for, and
everything was fine with the insurance presentation?
yep. Yeah, Mark's still working on the numbers, trying to knock them down a little further, and as soon as I get them, we'll give them to you and get them to Josie and adjust the numbers in the budget.
Great.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Nice job, Joe.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I thought the numbers that Mark gave the other night were
Great.
were pretty good. Usually you do get numbers from an insurance broker the initial year. Usually they are pretty good. We'll see what happens next year, too, as things move on here.
Yeah, it looked like it was a savings about $48,000.
Yeah, close to
year.
So he actually
$50,000.
found somebody to take the fireman's workman's comp,
Yeah,
other than that?
that's,
Our hope is that
Yeah.
it's a company called Encova,
yeah.
that they're gonna take both, which will be great news for me.
Yeah.
Great news for the fire departments that we won't have to deal with SWIFT anymore because they're a nightmare. And so if they do that, we have one panel for everybody. It'll be nice and easy to file claims and easy to administrate too.
Very good.
Hopefully, we don't have to file that many.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Last but certainly not least, there, Mr.
Oh,
Little.
yeah,
our
I'm
municipal
the
manager.
last one, and everybody wants to get out when I go, and that's okay,
No,
understandable.
take your time.
Yeah. Okay, mayor and municipal council
What
for,
page?
page
This-
9.
And also this, Ron,
Expenditures.
this was handed out to us. Right? You guys have it?
Page
On our
9?
desk.
It's over,
Page 9 in the expenditures.
Where's yours?
Mr. Little.
right here.
Okay, salaries for the mayor and council remains the same. You get $3,000 each per year.
Like it or not.
I think the mayor gets a little more, if I'm not mistaken.
does.
I'd have to look in the borough code.
He does.
Salary and wages of temporary employees, that's for summer help and the T-shirts. We decided 2 years ago, each elected official would get 3, and that has worked out really well, I think.
I think so too. I think all the departments are very happy as well.
Right.
are.
And traveling expenses, that's for mileage, meals, and part of that is for the ALAM conference, as is the seminar expenditures, as I have listed there on the sheet there, for the ALAM conference, and also additional banquets you go to that, like maybe the Water Buffalo banquet that's coming up.
Yeah.
That Mr. Arsenko is requesting everybody attend. Dues and memberships reduced a little bit. This is for the Boroughs Association, the COG, the Chamber, and mainly those 3 right there, other dues and memberships. Some expenses I put in other accounts, and as I go through here, I'll mention that. General office supplies, reduced that just based on what the past expenditures have been, reduced that $250. Food, which is where your water comes from here and everything, it's in the refrigerator, cups, beverages, coffee, and also for the 4th of July, and different dinners that you have, for instance, with the COG, that is a little bit of an increase of $150. Gift grants and memorials, $17,200, that's a $2,700 increase, and that's mainly due to the fireworks, as I think JJ mentioned to everybody when he presented the contract to everybody, and that's an increase. I think it was a 3-year contract to lock it in, but it was nonetheless an increase as everything else goes up. Memorial Day Parade, that was increased 2 years ago from $2,500 to $5,000. TV COG, ALAM sponsorship, that's a couple $100. And there's $12,500, as everybody knows, from Visit Monroeville that comes in for the fireworks, and that's shown in the revenue. That's why that $14,500 was a little bit lower last year. That's mainly due to the fireworks increase. Any questions on mayor and municipal council expenditures?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, municipal manager, as I mentioned in my budget message, the main increases in there is for an assistant manager position, which I mentioned as far as succession planning. And I'm not looking to retire anytime soon, but I think that there should be a succession planning started. And not only for a succession planning, I do think that a community of this size needs an assistant manager. And just to highlight, and I have a job description for you attached to it, just to highlight some of the parts of the job description that I put together here. This position, and not right away, this position would be, after everybody on this dais is probably gone, would be kind of an operations manager on the day-to-day detail in moving forward. A lot of other municipalities that are just as large as us and not larger operate this way, and I've talked with other managers, other elected officials in my career, and it works out rather well. The first line item under essential duties and responsibilities serves as a day-to-day operation manager of the municipality under the direction and guidance of the municipal manager for all the departments. And obviously carries out special projects for analysis and report preparation. An example is that, and Joe does a lot of this right now, and he's a human resource director. We do contract negotiations, and as we were doing police contract negotiations, doing analysis as we did last year for that, council asked for a certain question on that. An assistant manager would do that, and you'd have your human resource director could concentrate on different policies for human resources moving into the future. Moving down here, I also have this, and it serves as also the municipal right-to-know officer. I think the assistant manager should do that. And also can do also grant, there's a lot of grants out there that I think we could be applying for. It's just a matter of somebody being able to do it and research it. So those are some of the highlights, and you can look through the job description at your, at your leisure. And if you have any questions, you can call me, or if you have any questions of me right now. But I really think the position is not just for a succession planning, for somebody to move into the manager's position, even after, if you agree with this, then even after this person is here, and then he's here for a couple of years, I think then that person and that council should hire an assistant manager. I think there's a lot of communities that have assistant managers that are smaller than us. And Wilkins, I think, is hiring one. Plum Borough has one. Moon Township has two. Cranberry has three. Now, and Cranberry's not that much larger than we are. They're not. In fact, they're not. They're about the same operation as we are. So I think it's a position that's needed. Also underneath there, and the reason why the line item for salaries under manager has increased is because the receptionist, Holly, I've taken her, she usually is in the finance, and I've taken her and put her under because I think the receptionist should be there. Now, her duties are not going to change at all. Her duties are going to be the same. But I believe she should come underneath the man, and I think that's the way it used to be going back maybe 15, 20 years ago. Also under, which is 2110 code, this is a project that is languished, but we still have a little bit to do on it. And I talked to Josie, and she's correct. This has been moved down to under contract services 2730.
Yeah, we're trying
And
to
we
figure
get
out what
down
that
there,
is.
that's also including another aspect that I mentioned during the budget, during my budget message. But let me go through all these different little line items here. Traveling expenses, I reduced that $2,100 because I think a lot of the stuff that came under traveling expenses should be under seminar expenses. And the only thing traveling expenses should be is mileage I get when I'm in my own car doing, out doing things for the municipality, and that's only $600. Seminar expenses, $3,600, that's for the ALOM conference, for the ICMA, International City Managers Association conference I go to each year, the PELRAS, the labor conference that Joe and I go to, that covers that right there. The building, which is what is office repair, we have $2,000 in there, that's for office equipment, but I would like to change that line item to office equipment and repair, and possibly utilize this for carpet cleaning and small building repairs, which did not occur in 2018. We had all of the carpets cleaned 2 years ago, if you remember.
Yes.
Now, the question, when we get into the capital part when we get to the capital improvement program, the question that we're going to have to be discussing, just on carpet, for instance, do you want to have it cleaned? Do you want to have it replaced? Do you want part of it cleaned, part of it replaced? And that's a question that I think right now, just to touch on that a little bit, I think that maybe you get it cleaned, and then maybe the latter part of the capital improvement program in the 5th year, quite possibly, have it replaced. And maybe replace it piecemeal as you move along each year and don't have a big expenditure, but in 2022, you replace some of the carpet where it's more worn, for instance, up in engineering. And I've thought about, I talked to our custodian. He had an idea, not only up in engineering, and I talked to Paul about it too, and down in the police department, instead of having the tile, having an epoxy painted floor that's aesthetically nice.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing that looks like you're in a,
Institution.
exactly, an
Right.
institution, but something that's aesthetically nice, but have it epoxy, because the building inspectors come in, actually, when the building was designed, inspection should be where the tax office is, I think, and the tax office should be upstairs, is what I think. That's my opinion. Because you have your building, or the building inspection should be downstairs a little bit, but I can understand a police department being downstairs, so I think that building inspection, you can come up the back way, but that's neither here nor there, that's already done.
Now, the contracted services, as I mentioned during my budget message, I put $15,000 into the budget because I think we need an advocate for economic development in this community. And I think it's somebody that I should be working with. And also to work with Visit Monroeville on this, and I've talked to Sean Logan about this. I think we need to be more proactive with people who are looking at Monroeville, or more importantly, people who are not looking at Monroeville. And they should be looking at Monroeville. And the example I gave is IT, that's not at Bakery Square and places like that. Bakery Square is not going to be able to hold all that, I believe, and I think they're going to be looking outward. Right now, where are they looking? Findlay Township. Yeah, okay, it's close to the airport. I get that. But my mantra is here, why not Monroeville? We have the Westinghouse building down there that's just been purchased by a new group out of New York. And I do think we have a lot of amenities here, Tech One Park. I think we have to start looking and being proactive for people, and I put really, it's a modest amount of money in there to start that going. And if council wants to approve that in there, then I'll keep you more apprised of moving ahead. And I've talked with Sean about it, and he's tentatively maybe setting up a meeting with some people that I can talk to, developers, and saying, what are you looking for in Monroeville? What do you want in Monroeville? Get the perspective of what a developer, of what a business person, what they want. What does Monroeville have that they don't know? What is Monroeville lacking that we could do to accommodate them? I can go into examples, but I'm not going to do it here publicly, and I'll talk to council, about that individually. And Sean and I talked about it a little bit on the phone after when I presented the budget to council. Moving on, well, as I mentioned, General Code Publishers, there's an amount that has to be done, and that's been languishing for a couple years now. I have in there about the Economic Development Advisor, $15,000. Dues and membership, increased costs for dues and memberships, APMM, which is Pennsylvania Municipal Managers, Western Pennsylvania Municipal Managers, PELRAS, and also the American Planning Association. Office supplies, there's been an increase in shredding costs. That's why that's kicked that up $1,000. Magazines and books, I've reduced that down to $800. Food, increased that $200. That's for the Christmas lunch and the Joe Sedlak cleanup day. Office furniture and equipment, probably need maybe some new file cabinets. Any questions on that from council on anything?
No, you answered the only one I had.
Okay, legal services, nothing really has changed there. Last year, we put in Sharon's cost under legal. It was under mine, but we put it in where I think it should be under legal, because that's stenographic services. We put that in there. We'll continue that this year. For the solicitor, retainer costs, tax appeals, right to knows, things are outside his retainer. That amounts in there, and also you $20,000 for ancillary. I'm going to call ancillary for different labor questions that we've had. Mostly we've used that with Campbell, Durant, and Beatty. We're not going to be entering into any kind of arbitration that we did 4 years ago. So that's a good thing. But I think $20,000 is easily needed for outside, different kind of labor attorney.
Can it just say outside legal services? Doesn't have to be labeled as labor, does it, or that
No,
particular
no,
law
that
group?
could be anything.
Yeah,
That could be
okay.
anything.
All right, so it's just a general little
Right.
20 grand just in case?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and the last one, which is on the page 101 in the back, I always include this in there as far as transfers, and I mentioned this in my budget message, with a $2.5 million transfer into the capital, which is more. But as I have mentioned at the budget message, when I introduced the budget, as we move along with this capital improvement program, and we're going to be discussing that probably more than we're discussing the regular budget, because council here understands a lot. You've been through the process. The capital might be a little bit more, might take a little bit longer. It's going to probably take at least 2 meetings, I would say. And I think you're going to have to, what we could do is reopen the budget, advertise that. You're going to have to pass the capital improvement program under ordinance. And I think what you may have to do is, you can't open up the regular budget, the operating budget, to transfer more money. You can do that. And I think that's probably going to have to be done, because the last capital improvement program, 5-year, it was $16 million in total, and I don't see anything changing, and probably will even be more. You're talking about body cameras. You're talking about, that hasn't even been entertained in the past, different things. So there's a lot of things like that that are going to probably, we're talking about a security system here. That hasn't been talked about when we started the other capital improvement program back in 2011. So, any questions?
None.
Good work.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, that is, one final comment from me is all the changes here that I'll be talking to Josie with tomorrow, that obviously is going to change
Our books.
the fund balance, as far as, obviously, there's going to be more money used out of the fund balance, right, Josie? And so that will change. And it's money well spent. It's there.
Well, you'll send us a report on that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
Are you gonna change our books?
well,
Yes.
they will
Does
be
that-
changed. That'll, yeah,
Can we
I'll
leave
turn them
them
in
again.
tonight?
No, not tonight, no. That will be before the December meeting. We're not gonna change anything
But I'm
tonight.
here now.
No, not now. I mean, Josie's we gotta sit there and decipher all this and
Yeah.
change, with grant fund in there
Why
and,
can't we have it done?
No, I
Hang
just
on
wanna
to
leave
it a
my
little
book
bit
now.
longer.
yeah.
But council, yes, we have, any other
Wait.
discussion? Council, any other discussion of any of the items we went over this evening, or
No,
about the
thank you.
budget in general? Very
Thank you to
good.
everybody for their efforts. Much appreciated.
Yes, Mr. Little, thank you. Great job for the budget. Josie, you're the only one standing here as
I
well.
know.
Everyone else.
They all
bailed
bailed
out.
out.
Man.
Yeah. But thank you for what you're doing, and also for all the department heads that presented tonight and presented the other day. We also have our cameraman here, cameramen. One of them, let's get a camera over here, because we have a birthday. One is spending his
Birthday
birthday.
guy.
Happy birthday to Jay Sedlak, one of our cameramen here, spending his birthday here at the exciting budget hearing here at Monroeville. Great job. And then we do have to just open it up here for public comment if no one is here in the audience, but if there's anyone that would like to comment, now's your
In the
chance.
audience.
Somebody might wanna text him.
Yep, we're going to close that portion of the meeting. Council will just continue these discussions at the December 3rd work session meeting. The soonest that they could vote and pass this budget would be on the December 10th council meeting. However, if council requires more time, we could always set a special meeting to pass the budget. We have until the end of December to do so, but hopefully we can get this done at the regular meeting in December. Yes, there's some changes that we need to go over. For the listening audience, once again, we're at a $35 million and change budget. It is a large railroad, a lot of great services that we provide here for the community, and we have to continue to do so. And it's, the most important job that council members do, is to pass a budget and make sure money is allocated for the community. So with that, I want to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.
Hey,